Hey, and happy new year. Welcome to 2024. If that's when you're listening to this, who knows? This is just going to be out in the ether, out in the cosmos for a long time. So, welcome. Welcome to Love is a Battlefield, the domestic violence podcast. My name is Tilly Moore, and this is episode 27. What is triangulation? Now, triangulation is yet another one of these many domestic violence terms that are commonly referred to by people working in the domestic violence space, like counselors, whatnot, and they help explain these very, very, very common manipulative little tactics that abusers do, or we also call them narcissists, because that is a very common feature of the type of abuser that we are talking about. So, what is triangulation? Now, triangulation sounds weird. When I first heard it, I kind of dismissed it and went, whatever. Like I was already, this is why it's episode 27 and not episode 2, because it's like, or 7, because it's like way down the road of things that I really thought about talking about. And I didn't really think it applied to me. But then on reflection, once the healing's done, you look back and you think, no, yeah, that did happen too. But you're so distracted by the huge, huge things that this person did to you that it kind of distracts you from, yeah, they did all those other things too. But there's just these huge things. So triangulation, what is it? Let's go for a definition first before I carry on and tell you all about my experiences and share some intimate, vulnerable stories. Okay, so let's look at the psychological definition first, which has nothing to do with domestic violence. Now, according to verywellmind.com, they say, what is triangulation in psychology? They say it's a harmful form of psychological manipulation. In psychology, triangulation is a term used to describe when a person uses threats of exclusion or manipulation. Its goal is to divide and conquer. A form of manipulation, triangulation involves the use of indirect communication, often behind someone's back. In the list of toxic behaviors, triangulation may be the most well known. But what is triangulation exactly, and why is it such a common manipulation tactic? And how can we recognize it? Ooh, I am learning as I am reading. I thought I knew, but I am learning some more. I like this bit though. This is not what I'm learning. I like how they say triangulation is an approach used by many different people who share one thing in common: insecurity. Yes, insecurity is at the heart of abusers because they're seeking power and control because they think that's going to heal and fix and fill that void of all this insecurity they have. They actually secretly hate themselves, but they act grandiose like they love themselves. And it's a whole big ass thing about being insecure, basically. So it says they manipulate others in harmful ways to get what they want. Now, the part I was carrying on about before about learning was this bit. Typically, there's limited to no communication between the two triangulated people, except through the person doing the manipulating. Right. So basically, they haven't really explained a definition at all. They haven't really explained it very well at all. So let me use what I know to explain what is triangulation. It's usually when they use like another person or something to manipulate you. Like an example is when they use another woman, like the prospect of, oh, well, I'm cheating with her, or I'm now going to talk to her, and that'll be like to punish you and manipulate you into doing what I want. Like, oh, you're not doing what I want, then I'm going to start messaging this other ex who we're just friends or something like that. They'll use another woman, bring in another woman, or start saying things about how amazing they are and putting you down, or using another woman. Other things are like in-laws and parents and stuff and family that are around. They can use them, like that they're going to message them, or that they've been messaging them and they've been saying this about you, using that third party. And what they're saying by the fact you have no communication is so true. They're using all these other people to manipulate you, but you and that other person they're using to manipulate you aren't in close communication. And that's something that they definitely want and set up. So if you are close with another person, they're not going to use them to manipulate you. They're not going to use them to control you and do all this stupid manipulation tactic with. They're only going to use someone like an ex, another woman, someone you don't have contact with. They will use your family if you're not in contact every single day and really, really close, but you are like generally in contact. But it's not that kind of close relationship. And this is why it says in here they use it to divide and conquer. They use it to isolate. They want you isolated from everyone around you because then they can manipulate you and say, oh, well, this person said this. And did you know they think this about you, but they really don't want you to know that? And they start using these things that are lies to make you think you're crap and put you down. And so you just stay in this relationship with this person because they're literally manipulating you with lies about other people. Oh my goodness. So the most common with these narcissist types and with domestic violence is that they will use other women usually, but they will use anyone and anything. And it's not just once or one. They will use many different people that you don't have a close relationship with, even someone who lives in the same home as you. They will put things in their head that you're bad or something, so they sort of are a bit distant from you and put things in your head that they hate you or something, and they'll create this divide, and then they'll start like getting in your head about how the other person hates you and how they're saying that you don't treat him good enough and things like that. Just anything they want, they will like make up lies and use other people. Now that other person is not saying those things, but they will tell you they're saying those things, or they would have, manipulated that person to believe lies about you until they come back with, oh, well, oh, yes. Oh, yes. That's an example. Sorry, it just hit me. Like I have examples that I'm planning to share with you later, but one just came to me. Oh my goodness, strangulation is so common. This should have been like episode 5. This is huge. So I'm just actually realizing now how many times this type of manipulation was used in the one relationship with that really, really unsafe, dangerous perpetrator that I knew. I think I've actually mentioned this before. So they had said, oh, so and so said this about you. I don't know who, I don't remember who or whatever. But I was like, well, no one just says that. You obviously said something to them to get them to respond like that. And the way they responded is the way I would respond if someone told me what you told them and called them out completely for their part in it. So what they do is they go up to someone, they might be one of their colleagues or a friend or someone that you know of or something, or maybe you don't even know them, but they'll go up to someone and tell them lies about you, like, well, she did this and she did that, which is all lies. Like, I believe he would go around saying he was trying to convince people that I was mentally unwell because I had left the relationship, and he was had been in trouble with the law and stuff. And so he had to discredit me. And so he was trying to convince them all I was psychotic, and he's going, he wanted them to think that I was the perpetrator. So if anything came out about domestic violence, because I was trying to keep things very quiet and be the mature person and just wanted to move. See you later. Our relationship's over. I'm moving on with my life. But he had to try the smear campaign plus, 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 plus. So he was trying to sell that I was aggressive and I was doing this, but he was pretending he didn't know what he was saying. He was pretending, oh, she does this stuff and she'll yell and she's really aggressive and I don't know what's happening. He would do it like that in that innocent act. Like the absolute calculation of this person is sick. Like the amount of acting and pre-thought out, I'm going to say it like this so they think that I'm the victim in this. And it is really, really, really sick. And yes, this person went to prison. So they're very, and that was what makes them dangerous. I've told you a lot before. Their manipulation is like one of their, besides the murdering part, besides that awkward part, that is like such a weapon that these abusers use. And yes, I did just recall that he had bragged to me. Well, they said that you were not nice, or they said that you XYZ. And this is someone I have no contact with, right? And they said XYZ. And I said, well, they're only going to say that if you have said XYZ yourself? And he's like, oh, no, they just said it. And I'm like, no, this person doesn't know me. Like, there's no way that person just says, oh, well, she sounds horrible. And he's like, oh, all I told them was this and that. And they said, well, that sounds like you're horrible. And I said, I would have said the same thing. If a guy comes up to me and says, oh, my missus did this, and I'm like a bloke, I would say, oh, well, she sounds like she's not very nice if that's what she's doing. I say that's a completely sane response for them. It's you that's the problem. It's you that's going around telling active lies, and then you have the audacity to come to me and boast about the responses you're getting to your lies. I don't care about their responses. I support their responses. I would respond the exact same way if someone lied to me. My issue is with you going around telling the lies to get these responses. And so I completely called him out on that. He didn't like it, so what did he do? Deflection, change the subject. Make sure you keep blaming your victim. Yeah, he would have deflected, changed the subject, and then gone, oh, but you, oh, but you, oh, but you, or something like that. Good times. But that just came to me, and that's not even like one of the main anything I was planning on talking to you about today. So that's the thing when you learn about these things, like what is triangulation? Like, I'm sure you'll go through what I'm going through and going, wait a minute, this and that. There's actually terminology and definitions for them doing these things to us. Yes, freaky, weird, but you're not alone. And that's the biggest point of this whole podcast and why I do it, is that you're not alone. The behaviors that they have done are so textbook. And there are unfortunately, so many people out there doing these behaviors to their victims, and it's not your fault. And heal, recover, know your worth, and avoid these nasty people. And hey, if you are in a relationship like this, and then you get in another abusive relationship, it's still not your fault. It's still not your fault. Anyway, back to it. I'm going to talk about a domestic violence related definition. Now, according to domesticshelters.org, what is toxic triangulation? So this is a DV-based website. Some abusers use a tactic called toxic triangulation as one more way to gain power and control over their partners. In this tactic, abusers manipulate their victim by communicating with a person outside of the relationship who is close to their partner, a friend or family member, and cause conflict through purposeful miscommunication. The abuser's goal may also be to isolate their victim by sharing harmful mistruths about each person. She's crazy. She doesn't like you. She said you weren't a true friend. Think of it like gossiping, but with much more sinister motives. Abusers use toxic triangulation to turn the victim's family members, friends, colleagues, and sometimes children against them. A skilled abuser will often utilize an array of tactics to terrorize and control the abused individual. Much of this is done on a conscious, highly manipulative level. Isn't that disgusting? And that quote's from a California-based clinical psychologist called Carla. Now, abusers know that the more control they have over the life of the abused, the greater chance they will have of maintaining this relationship. Thus, the abuser will often manipulate the abused individual's friends and relatives into taking sides with the abuser, leaving the abused person feeling hopeless and unloved. Yes. They've gone on to say it's almost always a male abuser. And they go on to explain how they use it to isolate them from family, friends, colleagues, and everyone, so that when they need help, they can't get it. They can't get out of the relationship because they have no support. If you knock down everyone's supports, what are they going to do when they go to leave you? They're going to have no one. And if everyone is against them and saying that they're crazy and it's all in their head and there's something wrong with them and they're a bad person and they're mentally deranged or something, if everyone around you starts acting like that, you're going to think that might be true. There's something wrong with me. So I'll just stay with this person. You're not going to just go, oh, well, I'm going to go out on my own. And that's what most of us survivors have to do, is you have to ignore the people who've been manipulated by this person and stand up on your own 2 feet, get away, cut your losses, which is absolutely painful when you've lost so many friends and people around you that you absolutely loved. But you have to realize, like, you forgive them because you were once manipulated enough by this person to get in a relationship with them. So you understand how easy it is to be manipulated by them. So you forgive them, but at the same time, it's very sad because you've lost those relationships. But you have to keep moving on with your life, set your life up all again, and start making friends from scratch, and then reach out to ones that didn't know your abuser so well. I've reached out to some friends, and one recently reminded me how my abuser tried to add them on Facebook randomly in the early days for no reason. Like, this person hadn't been messaging me at the time or anything. They just went through my friends list trying to literally add everyone. It was so weird. And not add just everyone, I don't think. I don't know. It was really weird. They were trying to, I think, add women who they thought looked vulnerable so they could then use them to sort of do this triangulation later on. And that person, I got a message from her randomly early in the relationship saying, he tried to add me. I don't know him. Do you know why he's trying to add me? And I was like, no. And I asked him, and he's like, oh, no, she tried to add me. These liars. So they try and befriend and be so wonderful and amazing, these people. And then they start lying to them so that they come back with things and isolate from you, and they start thinking ill of you. But that's not the main triangulation thing I was thinking of, because the main triangulation thing I've heard of from other people is the whole other woman situation, which is completely different to this. But triangulation, I mean, it covers it all, doesn't it? That they're using other people to make you feel crap about yourself, whether they're men, women, children, everyone. Oh my goodness. The amount of people, every single person around me, it is now like the pennies are dropping. If you could hear pennies dropping, if I had a sound effect, it'd be like tinkle, tinkle. Literally, every single person around me, this person attempted or succeeded in triangulation. Every single person they tried to start a relationship with and get on well with, every single person, they then tried to convince them that there was something wrong with me or I wasn't nice or something. And then in the end, they didn't succeed as much as they wanted to. They put in a lot of effort. This person put so much time and energy into doing triangulation. And literally every single person, everyone of all ages, all types of relationships, like family, friends, colleagues, everything, everyone, they tried it on every single person. Isn't that ridiculous? Wow. And then if there was a friend who was anti-DV and would be a very good supportive friend, they suddenly weren't around. They convinced, oh my goodness, oh wow. Can you hear it? Can you hear the realization? I'm not even going to edit. At that point, I accidentally pressed stop and it took me back to the start. Like, I was talking and I looked and it wasn't recording and it was at the very start. What I kept saying in that point was, I'm not even going to edit out this whole, oh, wow, oh my goodness, because I think I love hearing that in other people. I love seeing that genuine, wow, the pennies are dropping. This is the moment where I'm realizing and learning stuff myself. And I'm doing it while recording, which is probably not like profesh or whatever. But it's not about that. It's about sharing this, and then maybe you're there realizing as well that triangulation is what I've always just called manipulation. I actually used to think triangulation was just like another woman, as what I'd said before. But obviously it's when they use anyone and everyone around you. And I always thought, no, that's smear campaign. But smear campaign is where they really run a heavy campaign to get your entire image destroyed if you leave them and when you leave them, which happened. But this is what they do during the relationship from day dot. And I want to go on to explain, because this explains it really well. And this 100%, I can relate to this. So when you hear it, what it's saying, I can relate to this. Connecting with an ally. So this is from that same website. The abuser then attaches to someone who's left in the support system, often a mother, but sometimes a sibling, friend, or colleague. They don't really have any interest in that person for any reason other than to turn the energy in their favor. Abusers often have a charismatic facade, so these people can view them in a positive light. They tend to have a very lovely exterior. They do well at work, they're kind to women, but all of that is on the outside. He presents as this loving guy to the outside world. An abuser might start dropping by to see his mother-in-law, chatting and planting little thoughts and suggestions that he's concerned about his wife. Or he might connect with her friends and subtly draw them in. He might collect the names of friends and say, text me about this or that, and then start manipulating them by text. Co-workers then can begin to distrust the survivor. Here's another example scenario. An abuser knows a survivor's boss very well. The abuser has drinks with the boss, deftly planting doubts about the survivor's capabilities and insinuating that a drug habit exists. The boss, this literally happened to me. What? The boss slowly takes the bait and the survivor finds herself in a work environment that feels untrusting and untenable. At the same time, the abuser, who is adored by the survivor's family, connects particularly well with the survivor's mother and older brother. When the survivor finally comes forward to tell her family about the abuse, her family doesn't believe her. They cannot imagine the abuser to be anything but an ideal man. The survivor is left feeling completely alone and mired, it's a big word, in self-doubt. It is usually about creating doubt in mental health. The abuser's mindset is, well, your mother thinks you're crazy too. The abused person is left asking, where did my support people go? They all love him and hate me. Abusers can also target children. They may say they don't like their partner's children from a previous relationship, or especially if they are biological parents, they may become Disneyland dad. They present that wonderful side, taking them on trips, and the children only see this one side of him. When they're not present, he dives in and does his damage. It is difficult for survivors to identify this behavior, especially survivors who feel shame for getting into a relationship with an abuser. Being aware that abusers can and do use this tactic is an important first step, and that's why I do what I do. It's important to know all this stuff. If you even slightly suspect you might be a victim of toxic triangulation, connect with counselling or a domestic violence support organisation. Oh my goodness, that bit while I was reading it, I had this moment of going, do they know me? Where it was talking about, a mother and an older brother, and literally everything he did was it. And see, that's the thing. When you start learning about DV and all these things, you realize how textbook they are, that this is a clinical psychologist and they are going off a whole lot of examples that they know and saying this. And it's like someone has written about just what happened to me. And then when you talk to and meet other survivors, you all have very, very similar stories. It is very sad and frustrating, yet at the same time, it's good in a way about how they all do very similar behaviors. It's good in the way that they're quite predictable in that we know these kind of behaviors that they do, but it's sad because it is dangerous and it is hurtful and it's horrible, and it's sad that there are people that sick that think this is how you treat a woman in a relationship. That's just deranged and disgusting. I cannot believe what I just read and how, the boss thing. Oh my goodness, going to talk to the boss and trying to convince, because he said, if you leave me, I'll make sure you get fired and you'll lose your job. And I'm like, how? You can't do that. Mate, you can't do that. And then he's like, hold my beer. Oh, sorry, that's an Australian expression. That's really hard to explain, that one. Okay, so I'm going to try. So when someone says, you couldn't go and jump over that creek or over that puddle of water, and someone says, hold my beer. Hold my beer is an expression that means make a bet. Have you heard of make a bet? Or it means Yeah, I could. Watch me. I'm going to do it. That's what hold my beer means in Australia. It's only been out in the last, I don't know, around decade or something. And it just, yeah, it's sort of, it's that thing as if you're holding a beer and then your mate says, oh, could you do that? And you're like, yeah, hold my beer, like go hold my drink. I'm going to go and do it. So now I don't even remember the context in which I said, oh, yeah, he was like, oh, yeah, hold my beer. He didn't say that. He doesn't have a personality like that. He's just a psychopath. But, I mean, even his fake personality isn't like that. You know, they're just so fake because they're faking being a person. But so they're not even funny. But what I meant by that was he was like determined to get me to lose my job and did the boss thing and convinced the boss that, oh, and then when it said, and you're a drug addict, I'm like, oh my gosh, he literally did that. He convinced my boss and all these people that I was addicted to Duramine, the weight loss drug, which is funny because, yeah, you know why? Because I had been on it and I ended up taking it every second day and I was coming off it because it wasn't doing anything. I was gaining weight. And so I'd been on it, but you can only get 3 months supply at a time or 1 month supply at a time for a maximum of 3 months. So you can only get 3 boxes. He threw 1 box out. So I only actually had 2 boxes, but I spread it out over and took it on and off over months. So I was rarely taking it, but when I was, I'd take it like every second day because I was worried it would interrupt sleep and anything. And then I was like getting bigger and bigger. But that's all he had to go on. Like everyone knew I didn't do pot or anything like that or any other drugs or alcohol. Like it was just more believable for a drug that I said I had taken and tried and had been on, him to just blow that up and then lie that I was addicted because I'd also educated him that medication caused psychosis or can cause psychosis. It doesn't cause psychosis. They wouldn't prescribe it if it did. But being an amphetamine-based medication in extremely high doses taken for a very long period of time, it can cause psychosis in certain individuals. I was on a low dose and taking it every second day, but I only had 2 months supply all up. So I was spreading that out. So it's so funny yet frustrating that he used that to try and do that. But isn't that weird that this website says they will go to, it specifically says they'll go to your boss, try and convince them that you're a drug addict and you're mentally unwell and unfit to work. Are you like kidding me that this is written here? Please, someone email me and tell me that, tell me your story. liabfpodcast at gmail.com. Tell me your story. I want to know. I mean, how is this clinical psychologist literally writing details of what happened to me? And then when I've met so many survivors, they all have that moment of, wait a minute, me too, they did that too, they said that too. So many survivors will say they said that exact sentence. It is very disturbing that they do this. But I don't know, the feeling of seeing it written like that when it has nothing to do with me. These people don't know me from Barasot. They're in America. They don't know me. They don't know my story. Yet that was factual of what he did to me. That is absolutely insane about how textbook these people are. And it hurts a bit because it reminds me of how many people bought into those lies and how many people I don't have in my life anymore because of that and how sad that is. But you've got to move on. You can try and reach out to them, but it's really hard to sort of undo manipulation that these people have done. And it's not worth, like, you've got so much, like the right people, the people who love you will reach out to you and be there for you and be your friend no matter what. And that's what you realize. And you really do realize the people in your life that love you and are there for you. It's just, and the people who are never really your friend are the ones that will buy into all that and not come and tell you. I had one person come and tell me exactly word for word what his little manipulation spiel was about all this stuff about me. And it was I was like, oh, as if anyone would believe that. But you'd be surprised because it's all in the delivery. He's very well rehearsed, and I'm not the first victim. I'm not the last one either. So I've heard. So, sick, gross. Anyway, in this article, they have gone on to say something that's quite remarkable and I think is very important for you guys to know. Abusers' charisma can make it tough to notice the triangulation. They may make the individual doubt reality rather than saying, this is the person that they're manipulating that's not you. Rather than saying, wait a minute, this is my daughter, I know her, let me talk to her. But the fact is that this person is so charismatic, so like the way they deliver the information is so like, don't tell anyone, I'm really insecure about this. It seems so vulnerable and they're so good at their manipulation that it's very difficult for the person to say, wait a minute, I know this person and that's a lie. It's how they're manipulating. Basically, if some guy comes up to you who's dating your mate and just starts saying, oh, well, she's an idiot and she's a bitch and she does this and she does that, you're not going to believe it. You're going to go, yeah, good on you, mate. Oh, she's a drug addict. She can't stop taking Duramine. Oh, what an idiot. But you're not going to believe it. These people are well-rehearsed manipulators. They put on the vulnerable act. They put on the, oh, I don't really want to tell anyone. I'm really worried about her. I really love her and care for her. Oh, well, she's just been really not herself lately, and I'm just so worried about her. She's been really aggressive and not herself. She keeps taking these tablets. They plant seeds. They play this little victim-y, like little acting scenario, and they plant these seeds. And even the people picking up the information aren't really aware that they're picking up this information. So it is so easy for all of us to just dismiss it. If it's a guy going, oh yeah, she's an idiot, she's a psycho, they're going to go, yeah, whatever, mate. It's all in the manipulation and the style and the way they do this. And it's very calculated and thought out and planned. Isn't that creepy? Oh, I love what this clinical psychologist says. They say that they remind family members that they know the survivor best. They grew up with them. They know them inside and out. Ask yourself, this is to the people around the survivor/victim. Ask yourself, why is that partner going to the mother and not working with his wife? Why is he not saying, let's go to a therapist, let me help you? Are they literally talking about my situation? This is so unbelievable because he did that too. He went to my boss and said, oh yeah, I'm really worried about her, and all this stuff. And I was like, why? My first thought was, why would a man who is worried about his partner go and blab to her boss? Would he not protect her boss, like her boss from finding out? If she's not well, wouldn't he work with her to get her well and, go get therapy and go to see doctors and everything and hope that the boss doesn't find out that she's not doing so well? Why would he go in to the boss and blab that? People don't realize because they don't know they're being manipulated. The average person does not expect someone to do something like this because it's so not normal. It's literally insane. So they don't expect it. So when they're being manipulated, they just think it's genuine. Finally, they've gone on to say, the abused person is already judging themselves. They're questioning, how did I get myself into this? What did I miss? Yes, we've all been there. We've all thought that. Family members and friends can also watch for anxiety, depression, a lack of interest in activity, sleeplessness, weight gain or weight loss, and avoidance of family activities. Yes, all of that. Oh, it says there's something called when no one believes you. Oh, triangulation. So there's another type of triangulation. Well, it's all the same. It's all under that same banner of using others to manipulate you. However, psychcentral.com has labeled all the different types separately, like the scapegoat, golden child scapegoat, family dynamic, and then it goes on to the romantics thing. It says, in a romantic relationship, the manipulator will bring another person, more often than not a new romantic interest, but perhaps a platonic friend, into their primary intimate relationship in order to create discord, confusion, and jealousy. The disordered individual, that's the perpetrator, will enjoy the attention whether negative or positive, and may even let the triangulated individuals know about each other so they fight for their attention. Sometimes the triangulated individuals, that's you and the other woman, may not even know they are being used to manipulate others, or only one of them may be aware. Worse still, a narcissistically inclined person may triangulate someone that they are no longer in contact with in order to control those they are in contact with. I'll tell you about that in a sec. They go on to say the new shiny partner or friend is idealized as perfect, whereas the previous holder of this position is devalued as completely flawed. Who is idealized and who is devalued is completely arbitrary and dependent on the manipulator, and it may switch back and forth. Moreover, it's not based on reality. Here's an example. Will and Anna have been together for a few months. During this time, Will showered Anna with affection, attention, and plenty of gifts. Anna had fallen madly in love with Will, and there was talk of marriage and babies and an amazing future. He told her he loved her, that she was perfect, and that they were meant for each other. For the last month, however, Anna has noticed Will is texting less than he used to, barely answering her questions, and is otherwise being extremely vague. Sometimes his stories change, especially regarding where he has been and who he's been with. He even started blaming her for things that are not her fault. She is aware that Will has a new friend, Lindsay, that he knows through work. Sometimes Will compares her to Lindsay and she tells Will it hurts her feelings, but he responds by telling her she's jealous and there's nothing to worry about. Unbeknownst to Anna, Lindsay believes she is in a new relationship with Will. Sometimes he texts Anna in front of Lindsay but tells Lindsay not to worry about it. In the end, both women are jealous of each other and vie for Will's attention. Meanwhile, Will gets plenty of attention and drama to fuel his need to control the situation, getting all that power and control. Sick. It goes on to summarize that people who triangulate see people as objects that are only meant to be reflections or extensions of themselves to serve them when they need to protect their ego. Triangulation is a common tactic used by people with strong narcissistic tendencies and other dark personality traits. It is easy to pull off, it costs little, and it gets the job done. That's what these people are like. If it gets a result, they'll do it. They don't care about anyone or anything. Now, finally, I will share what I thought was triangulation. And now I know triangulation is all those manipulations of people around you. But the triangulation when it's the two women, oh my goodness, he's such a dick. So now on reflection, after the healing is done, yeah. So even at the time I knew, and I called him out about it too. I actually called him out about a lot of these TV terms and stuff because I knew a lot about them then. So every time you did, it was constant flipping it back on you, and yeah, and you'd say you're doing this, you couldn't win. It was just this constant circle talk and just anyway, triangulation. So there was the victim before me. Now, when we met, he spoke highly of her, and so he already knew, he'd already cottoned on that women are looking for the red flag of how men talk about their ex. He figured this out, which is not very safe. A dangerous individual like this, figuring out that women really assess how they talk about their ex, like, are they going, oh, she's a psycho and all this, because that's a major red flag. So he knew this, so he made sure he did the thing that he did at the end when he was, when he was using triangulation and the smear campaign, using the whole, oh, I worried about her, I really care for her, and using that positive language while planting seeds. So he would say, she wasn't well. She went to a psych ward. She overdosed on drugs. She was an alcoholic addicted to cask wine. He even said cask wine, like he had to go into, because he's like, oh, and cigarettes. And I had to go out and buy a cask wine and cigarettes. And you're just like, you're an adult. They're an adult. Why, if it's so bad and it's so horrible and you're going on about it, why didn't you go and buy it? Oh, I had to, or she'd get really upset. Like it was all lies, because I ended up, as I've said before, I ended up talking to the victim before me briefly before he made threats to her, threats that impacted children. So they were serious. And so she had to cut the contact because she had to do what he said. He said jump. She said how high. He said jump to me. I said enjoy your stay at the local prison because I don't take shit. I do not tolerate domestic violence. No one does. But I was so fucking over weak little pissy men thinking they can push around women and children, bully them, convince everyone that they're horrible and all these lies and ruin their lives, rape them, destroy them, freaking hit them, hurt them, strangle them, beat them, hold them against their will. It's like, you absolute little bitch. Like, I am not, you say, oh, I'm going to do this if you talk, like, she didn't realize that the two of us speaking was his worst nightmare because two voices walking into a police station, two women who've been through the same thing is going to get repercussions for him, and he didn't want that. So she believed his threats. Now, I don't blame her because he's so dangerous and he can hurt people. It's just frustrating that he just clicks his fingers and she's like, oh, okay, because she knows how dangerous he is. But at the same time, it's like, well, if you don't stand up and like tell the police what's going on, that's what happens. Anyway, the triangulation part. So he said like not nice things, but delivered them as if he was speaking highly of her at the start. So he got the green flag tick instead of the red flag. But then obviously during it, he started saying more negative things. And I would question everything. So he was speaking quite negatively about her. And then when I was trying to leave the relationship, he would suddenly say that she was the greatest person in the world and try and do the flip, trying to make me jealous about this person he was in a relationship with. It was many years before. It was not there just last week. This person had fled for their life. They had moved far away to save their life because they knew this man was going to end their life if they stayed with him. So this was a long time ago, but he had no one else to, like he did have others because they cheat. They're always cheating. There's always someone around. But he used anyone and any woman he could to do this triangulation manipulation, to do the make you jealous thing. So I have not forgotten one time I was asking him to leave my property. Please leave, because he was in that mindset where he was abusive and he was being abusive. And of course he carries on, has a hissy fit, has a big fat tantrum, makes all the threats and everything. And so when walking outside the front, he yelled out to all of my neighbors that my vagina wasn't as good as his ex's vagina and that her vagina was so much better than mine. He yelled this to in hearing range of my children and my neighbors. What a weak little piece of absolute crap. He didn't mean a word of it. And no, he didn't mean a word of it. Don't even think it go there, because he had previously said the opposite. Why do men think women are always in competition with each other? Why is it, oh, who's better? I even see like things on TV going or on social media. Who's your favorite Spice Girl? Who's your favorite this? And who's your favorite of that? And who's the best at this? Like there's always this underlying women should be competing thing, and men play into that. I don't think we should compete. I think we should work together. It's about time we work together because it seems everyone else is against women, so let's all work together. Anyway, I've always been a girl's girl. So I knew it was such a crock of crap because he had previously gone on and on and on about the literal opposite, how all these different aspects of me, my personality, my body, that body part, everything was so much better than her, so much more amazing. Oh, you're just the greatest, everything. So he had literally said the opposite. But when he wanted to get a reaction, and he thought that would get a reaction, he thought that would get an angry reaction, that I would display in front of the neighbors, but it didn't. It was like, there's something wrong with you, mate. Like, that's not normal to shout to my neighbors and my children that my vagina isn't as good as someone else's vagina. The fact that you would say that, like, if that was a fact, if that was absolutely true, and he was a normal, sane human, he would not deliver the information in that way. He would not shout it to your neighbors and your children. The fact that he was carrying on like a pork chop showed that it was absolute bullshit and he was trying to get a reaction. Because a normal, self-respectful man would have private discussions with a woman regarding her genitalia. He wouldn't shout it to the neighbors and your children. It was disgusting. I lost so much respect for him in that. Like, I had no respect. I mean, this person's an abuser. But what an absolute idiot. But the thing is, people who don't understand DV, or if it's the first time they've ever been exposed to it and they don't even know all this stuff, they haven't been educated on any of this, they literally think that that man is telling the truth. They think that secretly he's thought that I have these horrible genitals, or my butt's not good, or because he would go on then and try and say other things. He would say, I have the shittest personality in the world and she was amazing. And I'm like, okay, give me examples. And he couldn't. He would only say it when he wasn't getting what he wanted. And when I was saying, look, I don't want to be in an abusive relationship. I want to end this relationship. I don't want to keep going with this. And so they would come and he would use her against me. And it was only really toward the end when he would really pull that out of his back pocket. Now, he had cheated with other women during the relationship, and he had done that thing to one where he talked about me, but it sounded like he spoke about me. And she said, oh, he speaks about you in such high regard, because he'd done that same thing where he says, oh, she's not well, but I worry about her and all this stuff. So she thinks he spoke about me respectfully. But then I said to her, oh, have you slept with him between this date and this date, which was the time we were together? And she's like, she just said to him, you're a liar, but she wouldn't tell me. Like, she didn't want to hurt me. She should have. But yeah, she then cut him off and stopped talking to him. And he had been using her for sex on the side of everyone he'd been with for, I think, like 7 years or something. Like, he'd been using her for sex for quite some time. And because they weren't in an intimate, loving relationship, he hadn't been physically abusive with her. Because these people will only be physically abusive with someone when they've got feelings involved or something. He saw her as a product he used for sex when he so desired, and he would be friendly to her like a friend. And she was also someone he could use for triangulation, and he did use her for that. But it didn't work because she's not an idiot. And she saw through it. She's like, you're a freaking liar. And because I got in contact with her briefly for like a second, I think it was through his, like, he messaged her or something like that. But there was this brief crossover there, and that was really good because they want you to believe all these lies they're telling you. They want you to think everyone around you hates you. They want you to think that you're nothing, and all their exes and all their side pieces and all these other women all around them are amazing and you're a piece of shit. But at the end of the day, you got to just open your eyes and think, wait a minute, that's not normal. A healthy, normal adult male who is a caring, lovely, self-respectful man does not go around doing that. If they have a genuine concern in your relationship, they will talk to you about it, and they will not bring any comparisons to any other women. They will not have other women hanging around like that. That's not how it works. This is how insecure little bitch boys work. End freaking of. I mean, he tried the whole flirting with other women, like any females he knew or that I knew. He would try all that stuff. And so he tried all that too. But I've never, that's the one I wanted to share, that he would randomly, and it was so obvious it was fake because he would be like, You're so much better. Like, I would not ask for him to say this. I'm a girl's girl and I think he should never put down anyone. No, do not, if you are with a man, do not let him put down his exes. If he's going to put down his ex, it's the same as him putting you down. Literally, his ex is someone he loved once, he was in a relationship with once. Now, he can lie about how horrible and the worst person in the world they were, but they were in a relationship once. Now, they don't have to be in love still. That relationship has ended. But they shouldn't be like talking about them all the time. That's really not normal. It's really not normal for them to be going on and on and on. And if they're going to speak negatively of them, that's exactly what they're going to be saying about you in only months, years, or whatever time. It's the same. I feel like if you're going to say the same about a woman you once cared for, like if you're going to put her down, you might as well put me down because I'm going to be the next one that you're going to talk about like that too. Like you don't let them put other women down. And it's men who think that women love hearing them put other women down, like, oh, you're different, you're so much better. They think you want to hear that. But if you hear that, that is a giant red flag. Please run. Please run. Now, if I got in a relationship with someone now and I'm saying, oh, hey, like, I like how you're not trying to murder me. That's new and refreshing. I wouldn't be saying, he used to try and murder me. That sucked. He's horrible. He's this, he's that. That's the red flag is when they're like, she's this, she's that, she's this, she's that. I would say, I feel more trusting in this relationship because I don't see any signs that you could be dangerous. When we are not a manipulator, we talk of our own experiences. When we are not, but manipulators sort of always like pointing the finger at someone. So he would always put her down, put every physical and mental and psychological and personality feature of her down constantly in an attempt to bring me up and build me up and groom me and love bomb me. So when he turned it at the end and I said, oh, that's funny that you're saying that now because, you used to say the opposite, but now suddenly when I'm saying I don't want to be in the relationship anymore, you're suddenly saying that, oh no, she's so much better than me. Oh, really? And he's like, oh, well, I had to lie. Of course she's better than you. She's always been better than you, but I lied. Let me just tell you, these little bitches are full of shit. They are like vermin. They are rats. Or like there's a line in Greece where she goes, worse than rats. They're fleas on rats. Or something like that. So please, if you take anything from this episode, please take with you that these people are weak, insecure individuals who are very calculated in wanting to manipulate everyone around their victim, to hate their victim, to put down their victim. If you are someone around a victim, if you're a family member or a friend, that their perpetrator is going to be very charming. They are going to seem very vulnerable and caring and open. Forget that. Think of the person who is your relative, who is your friend, the person that you love. Do not believe the lies that are being. It's like they plant the seed in your head without you even knowing that they're giving you that information because the way they deliver it seems so sincere and it is very tricky. But please don't forget the person that you know, the true actual victim in this situation, and believe what they're saying. And also, these little bitches are little bitches and they will say and do whatever they want to get what they want because they're insecure. And after you heal and over time, you'll get to the point that I'm at where I just can call them little bitches and just see them as these weak it's like they're like little demon things that are just weak and pathetic and they just have to go to these extreme, ridiculous, at times hilarious because you see how they're literally acting. They're literally acting like they're in a play and they're doing all these extremes just to get control and power over someone. It's actually quite pathetic what they're doing. And when you have healed and had enough time away from a perpetrator, you can really see them like that. And I really wish that for everyone who's been through this. And I'm up to 3. or two, whatever. My other point is triangulation. You're not alone. If they're convincing people of lies, well, you just got to get away from them. Cut your losses, get away, start healing, and then see who your friends are after that. And you will likely lose friends and people, but the real people will stick around. Just make sure they're no longer in contact with that person, because the toxic person will continue to be toxic and spread lies, and you just don't need that in your life at all. So I hope that this has helped someone, because even today, this has been quite therapeutic for me in learning that it's not just the smear campaign, it is triangulation. It's what they do all through the relationship to isolate you and gain that power and control. Now, I hope you have a very, very safe New Year's in 2024, if that's when you're listening to this. If you're listening to this way in the future, hello, future. Okay, that's weird. Who speaks like that? Excuse the ADHD. Actually, no, I'm not apologizing anymore. I've been on the whole let's stop apologizing campaign where you just are who you are, and that's who you are, and you just be yourself and love yourself, and you will attract the right things into your life and not the wrong things. Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. That does so well for my listeners. But you're listening right now, and I appreciate that. Now, stay safe. Reach out to any TV service if you need anything. You can reach out to me anytime, any questions, sharing stories. It's liabfpodcast at gmail.com. Email anytime. Love you lots. Stay safe. You're legends. You are legends. Like, if you're doing this, you're listening, you're getting educated for whatever reason, pre-DV, during DV, just come out of DV, or generally want to learn about DV, either way, legendary. I don't know what else I was going to say. My brain just went, ugh. See you, legends. Bye.